All right, it's the last day of the month here. It is February 29th, 2024. Just wanted to hop on and go over what I'm looking at in the markets today. Well, it's after the day, so what I was looking at in the market, just go a little bit over what's kind of gone on in the last few days. It's been kind of wild actually, and some exciting stuff as well. So this will more be kind of my thoughts about the market, some of the trades I'm in, some of the things I'm looking at, and we'll dive in. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, let's start off here looking at the total crypto market. So this is the new day. Here's basically today, the price action, just basically a choppy day in the market, a sideways day in the market. Yesterday was this big, I'm sorry, 2 days ago was this big bullish day for crypto. But if we dive a little bit closer into this day, you can see this crazy candle. This is the total crypto market I'm looking at right now. You can see this crazy candle. And really what this candle is Coinbase actually had a glitch and a lot of people's balances, including my own, went to zero. And that was pretty wild. So here is the market chopping out because of that news. And we can actually dive a little bit deeper into some of that news. Let's see here. Boom. Right here, you can see on CNBC, Coinbase users see $0 balance after crypto trading suffers a glitch. So this is really crazy. So just imagine this if you weren't a part of this, or maybe you don't use Coinbase, but I was just trading, and out of the blue, my account just goes to zero. And this happened to a lot of people. And the craziest thing is, I was actually with my mom at the time. I was telling her how great trading was, how much I can manage risk, how safe it is now that I trade and I'm not just investing and holding the bag. And literally right after that conversation, my balance goes to zero. And I was like, if you've been in crypto, especially this last bear market, you'll know all the crazy things that happen. There was the Luna incident where everybody was putting their or staking their Luna stablecoin in, I forgot what the protocol name was, but that completely crashed and people lost a fortune. I think it was like 70 I forgot, maybe $70 billion. It was something nuts that was happening there, and people got crushed. Also, there was the FTX collapse, where also people got crushed. So there's so many things in this space that are brutal, and Coinbase was one of the kind of last hanging players in this space, especially if you're trading in the United States. That was like legit. And then just to see, if you've been through this space for a while, just to see your balance go to zero, it was like a pretty defeating moment, not only for myself, I'm sure other people too. It's like, really, where can you turn in this space? So luckily that's all fixed now, and I believe everybody's accounts are showing balances, and there wasn't any actual lost funds. It was just that Coinbase got overloaded. So super scary instance here for anybody trading in crypto, and it was a really good reminder too. It caused a lot of market volatility. You couldn't really get into your positions or anything like that. You couldn't manage them. So luckily, if you did have stop losses, those would still trigger. So a lot of my stop losses got hit, and I didn't have to worry about my account just dwindling. Because if you were stuck in some of these other situations where you couldn't get out, or maybe you didn't have stop losses on, you saw your portfolio dip really hard, that can be difficult. And it's just a good reminder to always make sure your risk is managed at any point in time. And actually, I'm usually really good at managing my risk, but I had I think maybe one or two positions where I didn't have, I think it was one where I didn't have a stop loss in. And I was like, oh man, it wasn't a large position or anything like that. But if I couldn't get out of this, I was just gonna the market was still going to go down, I was going to take a big hit on that trade. So maybe it was a blessing in disguise. There was some damage because of that for my portfolio, but nothing huge. Basically, I'm back to where I was before this little glitch, and that's a good thing. So it might be a blessing in disguise to kind of remember anything can happen in this space. Market crashes can happen out of the blue. It's black swan events. They're by nature unexpected. So that's number one. Number two is thinking about how much money you do have on an exchange. I personally like to have my long-term holds off of exchanges and have those in hardware wallets or software wallets. And that allows me to at least have my longer-term investments, which is the bigger portion of my portfolio, and know that that can't really be tampered with when it comes to like an exchange issue. So that's number one. Number two, and just thinking about how much exposure of my capital should I have in my trading account. I'm still messing with that idea. Really, usually my trading capital, I kind of use that as general risk capital, but maybe it might be where I need to start taking more off. And especially as the bull market grows, it's been a little while since we've seen huge moves in the market, and I think the market is about to do that. This could be like at a certain amount, I'm going to take that money off an exchange or, the exchange that I use. So really interesting. We can go back and look at this. So let's look at the key points. Coinbase suffered a glitch on Wednesday that left many users seeing a zero balance in their account. Super freaky. I thought it would be, it's one thing for an exchange to have a glitch, but it's another thing to have the glitch be where your account says zero. Like, that's the weirdest thing. Why would your account have to just say zero if there's a glitch? I would assume your account would still have its balance, but it said zero. And I think that was the difficult part about this. I know exchanges have been overloaded, apps have been overloaded, and maybe they're glitchy, maybe they're slow, maybe they freeze up, maybe the website crashes, but for balances to be zero, that part was difficult. And because of that, Coinbase is one of the biggest exchanges. So we saw the price drop about $2,800 in a matter of minutes. And that's where I kind of got flashbacks. If we go back into the chart here, let's just go into Bitcoin since they're using Bitcoin as an example. So let's start to go in smaller time frames here. Here you go. So here you go. On the 15-minute time frame, it looks pretty good. You see Bitcoin run up here to about, $63,700, and then just catapults down all the way down to 58,800, which that, if you're a crypto vet, you're like, or at least for me, I was like, how low is this going to go? Is this going to cause, a crazy panic where institutions are going to be offloading like crazy? Because I think it's warranted to be a little bit cautious about this stuff. I was trying to think, should I just start selling out of all my positions? And I couldn't do it, but I wanted to. Definitely getting that PTSD. So if you missed that, I think that was a really interesting biggie, at least for me. And the crazy thing about that, really quick, is this Coinbase event, I thought it would be much bigger of a deal. I thought the market would be panicking like crazy. Yes, the market did panic, but it shook it off so quickly. And really, there wasn't enough news around it that I would expect for something like that. I mean, look, at the end of the day, that whole drop is actually within this daily candle here. So at the end of the day, the market was bullish. It just shook it off immediately. So that was really, really interesting. And in my opinion, that's actually something relatively bullish. So let me explain this. So one thing, I've done a lot of research on some of the biggest traders in the game, and I forgot who it was, but they were saying a huge bullish indicator is when you have a negative news situation, but the market is not affected that negatively. He said usually that's a very bullish signal, or that's even a bottom signal. So, for example, if you're seeing uh, tons of chaos in the space, maybe it's like a COVID crash or some sort of stock market crash or real estate crash. Once the news gets so bad and you see another wave of bad news and the market either doesn't really budge or starts to rally off of that, those have been bottom signals for some major players in this game. And the same thing is at tops. A lot of times, a topping signal is if there's really good news in the market, but the market starts to really just either not budge or actually start to sell off. So kind of contrarian indicators, and they don't work all the time. But I think this was a good example with Coinbase. Is you had the number, I think it's number two exchange have a glitch. Most people's balances saying zero, and the market closes bullish, and it's a really bullish day. So to me, that was actually a pretty bullish situation to see the market kind of recover decently from that. So I'd say that's the major news right now. As we're looking at the market after today's closed, had sort of a negative day. The market's not really pushing up very much. I think there was news of a regional bank struggling, so that could be it. But the markets are a little bit calm. They're usually a little bit calm after New York session, so that's my time frame is trading or really looking at the markets or being awake during New York session. But I found pretty regularly in the near recent past is New York has been the relatively bearish session because Grayscale seems to be selling their Bitcoin. It's I believe, a United States company. So I think that's where New York session has been relatively bearish, and London and Tokyo have been a lot more bullish. So right now, it's usually a few more hours until the Asian markets kick in. So it makes sense that it's a little bit cool. All right, so let's look at a few other things in the market that I thought were really interesting. All right, so we have Anthony Pompliano. Terrible at names, but he found something interesting, or this is actually a source from Hodl 15 Capital. But essentially, the Bitcoin being purchased yesterday from the ETFs alone, they purchased 11,211 Bitcoin. And out of the production produced by miners, there were only 900 Bitcoin produced. So the ETFs are outpacing in terms of buying the amount of Bitcoin that is being mined. Not to say that this is always going to be the case, but that's an interesting kind of relationship that we're seeing in the markets here with the amount of Bitcoin being purchased. That actually shows a relative measure. And this is something I've talked about quite often, actually, that a lot of people don't know is actually how much Bitcoin is available on exchanges. So let's go here. So if I go to CoinGlass and I look at Bitcoin exchange balances, you can actually see the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges. You see you have Binance, Bitfinex, Coinbase, so on and so forth. And at the bottom, it gives you a total balance or a relative total balance. And there's 1.8 million Bitcoin on exchanges. So roughly around 8.5%. So think about that. There's only about 8% of Bitcoin available in stores. That's the way I kind of think of it. Exchanges are kind of like stores. So it's like somebody says, like, there's only, if you go to all these stores out there that are selling Bitcoin exchanges, there's only about 8% of it available. Now, who knows what's being sold on the over-the-counter market? And see if we can see any good data on this. I don't think we really can. I don't believe this zooms out enough. Let's see. Okay, let's see here. Here's another one I like. It's actually has more data. But check this out. This is BitRAR. And in this blue, you're seeing exchange reserves. And we're looking, say, around 2019-ish. Let's see here. This is October 2019. There's 3 million Bitcoin on exchanges. And if we roll all the way down here, it goes all the way down to the floor, basically, where the Bitcoin on exchanges is getting lower and lower by a drastic amount. This isn't, I don't think it's up to date. It doesn't really show a good amount here. But if we used CoinGlass, it shows that there's 1.8 million. So Bitcoin is getting scarce, long story short. Who knows what's on the over-the-counter market, but on public exchanges, there's only 1.8. So to get an idea of how quickly that could go, this guy, Fred Krueger, lays it out pretty nicely. He says every day the ETFs are buying 10K or about 0.5% of this. In 1 week, that's 4%, theoretically, if they keep buying at the same rate. And say they do this for 12 weeks, half the supply is gone on public exchanges. So I think that really hasn't settled into a lot of people on really how crazy that is. You know, you really don't see like scarcity like that in other commodities. You don't see like, oh, there's only this much gold left, you have to buy it. You know, you really don't see it that drastic, at least in my eyes. So Bitcoin is getting pretty scarce from a public exchange perspective. And now with the ETFs, there's the buying power that accelerates the impact on that scarcity. So I think we're going to see something we've never seen before in maybe our lives, on something this scarce with such high demand. And that's really what you want. That's fundamentals in a nutshell, is what is the demand? And ideally, you know, you want demand to have, you know, the future has to hold greater demand. That's when an asset would be fundamentally undervalued. And in the future, there should be less supply. So when you have a prospectus for greater demand in the future for an asset, that causes price appreciation, all else equal. And when you have a more scarce supply in the future, all else equal, that should cause price appreciation. Whether that's baked in already, I doubt it, but the fundamental factors that cause price appreciation are pretty accelerated for Bitcoin. We have major institutions. We even now have like asset managers like Morgan Stanley getting in the game. And they are buying Bitcoin, as you can see, in large amounts. And then Bitcoin, there is not only a small amount available on public exchanges, it is now going to get twice as scarce from a mining perspective. The Bitcoin halving is coming up, I think, in less than 2 months. So let's just look at the halving countdown. So nice website, nice hash. Bitcoin halving countdown, 50 days. In 50 days, the mining reward for Bitcoin is cutting in half. So effectively, the new supply coming into the market is going to be cut in half. That's pretty crazy. And historically, after the halving, Bitcoin reaches new highs. And Bitcoin is already close to its all-time highs. It's kind of scarily close, as a matter of fact. So if I go on to the weekly time frame here for Bitcoin, and I mark up the high here at 69,000, and I look at Bitcoin, let's just look at the relative high here from the week. If I just use a measure tool, it's only 8% away from its prior all-time highs. You know, all through this bear market, people thought Bitcoin was going to 10K, it was going to 8K, it was going away. And now it's literally almost at its all-time high again. So a lot of people are feeling pretty mixed feelings about this, that they really can't believe Bitcoin is basically untouched, you know, from its all-time high. That's pretty crazy. If I just go to 69K here, from a drawdown perspective, if you bought the high, this is how crazy. If you bought the high, if you were one of those people like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I bought at 69,000, I bought the exact top, you're down a little over 7%, 7.5%. That's so crazy. Like that, if you were one of those people, you got to be feeling pretty solid by now. So I think this is going to start, to stir up FOMO in the market. I mean, if you have Bitcoin that's only 8% off its all-time highs, people are really going to start to believe, in my opinion, that Bitcoin is definitely due to get to its all-time highs, if not push past it. I think this is now the real big conviction layer to Bitcoin. You have major institutions getting in now. There's commercials for the ETF out there. And you now have major banks talking about what their crypto or recommended crypto allocation or Bitcoin allocation should be. So you might now start to see a lot of retirement plans, including Bitcoin, investment plans, including Bitcoin. And that's wild to see if you were somebody who thought that Bitcoin was just going away. Now it's only 8% off its highs. It's about to hit its halving again. It's really, really getting crazy for crypto. I think I think around this time is going to seal the deal, probably, in my opinion, for Bitcoin. I mean, what more do you need? It fell. It went down 70% off its highs, like it normally does, 80% even. And it's all the way back yet again. And now major institutions are in as well. So we got a lot of things going for us in the crypto space in terms of at least Bitcoin. Okay, let's see what else we got. Something that's pretty crazy too, that a lot of people don't think about, is Bitcoin compared to other fiat currencies by market cap. So in terms of market cap, what are the largest fiat currencies? So the first one is the Chinese yuan, or however you pronounce it. They have different sorts of they do the market cap in Bitcoin or versus Bitcoin. So to reach the market cap of the Japanese yuan or won, you'd need 670, a ton of Bitcoin. Then you have the dollar, Japanese yen, Indian rupee, Brazilian real, Australian dollar, Swiss franc, and boom, Bitcoin, number 14. Crazy. And Bitcoin just jumped above the Russian ruble, which is wild. So Bitcoin is the 14th largest 14th largest currency in the world now. Pretty crazy to think about. And then over here, we have even Bitcoin in terms of the largest assets in the world. It's now the 9th largest asset in the world. People think that Bitcoin is like the 1 millionth largest asset in the world. No, it's the 9th. It's bigger than Facebook. Meta right here, number 10. Bitcoin, 9. Silver, it's right behind silver. That is really, really crazy to think about. Right behind silver. Where's all the other elements? You have gold at the top. Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia, Amazon. Bitcoin is about to be greater than silver. It's 1.27 trillion. Bitcoin is at 1.25 trillion. Bitcoin is about to be greater than silver. Really, really crazy. So this is cool stuff that's happening here in the crypto world. So huge congrats to anybody who got in to Bitcoin. I mean, this in my opinion is the cycle bottom. It very much looks like it too. So around that 15K mark. So if you bought Bitcoin, in my opinion, if you bought Bitcoin in this sort of cycle bottom here, under 30K, in the next market cycle, you're probably going to be noted as one of those geniuses. I think that's kind of cool because every market cycle, those that bought the bottom, whether it was by luck or they had the conviction to do it, they are labeled either A, lucky, or geniuses for doing so. And there's a lot of people that just, they're always like, oh, I remember when Bitcoin was this amount of money. I remember when Bitcoin was, $1,000 or $100. And they're like, if only I did that. And these are typically in market cycle bottoms. I really believe, since this is a cycle bottom, that 15K to 30K range, that if you bought then, you're going to be one of those people, relatively speaking. So pretty cool if you did that. All right, let's see what else I want to talk about. All right, so going into some altcoins. So the dogs are barking a little bit. So I decided to get into some of our meme coins. The kind of scary thing about when meme coins pump is usually that's like the sell sign almost, because usually coins flow into the safest and then go into the least safe asset at the end. That's kind of how market or capital flows go. People invest into Bitcoin first because it's the safest crypto. They take profits from Bitcoin, put it into Ethereum and altcoins, and then profits from those typically flow into meme coins, and then the market turns over again. But sometimes the bull runs are kind of kicked off by that meme coin season, because that's kind of how the bull market happens. Is you should have a market cycle, but then the market keeps pushing up. So I'm nervous about what I'm seeing here. The pump is not as good as I would assume. When you usually see meme coins go, they go and go and go, and they just rip to the moon. Here we got this is Dogecoin. We got Dogecoin pushing up here, but you can see, even if you go to a daily time frame, it's not necessarily making big moves. It made one big move. Today it was choppy, and we're opening up. It's pushing up a little bit. It's not as strong as I would expect if this was a full-blown bull market. Another one is Bonk. Bonk is pushing up pretty decently. Got into Bonk. It's pushing up nicely, but still not roaring by any means. And say I go to Sheeb. So I was in Sheeb a little bit, but it's not doing anything super, super wild in the grand scheme of things. If you look at, Sheeb, when Sheeb runs, this is the last time Sheeb ran. You have this huge candle. Yes, you have a little indecision one, but really it's just flying upwards. And this, what we see right here, is nothing. So I'm wondering, are we going to see some sort of either sell off, or is this just the beginning? I'm not quite sure. One thing you can do is you can look at the total 3 chart. Whoops. So total 3 is basically the altcoins. So you see it up here, total 3. It's total crypto market, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. That means we're just looking at the altcoin space. So if I just draw a line at the last time the market really got bullish, and try to find like where the market would break out similar, you can see that the altcoin space is indeed breaking out, and it's pushing into this just giant zone of imbalance. So to me, technically, I would assume we're going to see altcoins just spring up and make this same move. Because if we go to total 1, just the normal total, if we do that same chart, we look at where the market breaks out. See, it breaks out. This one broke and retested, but pushed up and completed that move. It completed that entire move. Hopefully you guys can see that. Now that move was completed right here. Boom. So who knows if we were going to see something similar for total 3. So it kind of looks like we are going to see this sort of altcoin run. I'm not 100% sure, but technically it kind of looks like it. So that's kind of the saving grace, even though altcoins don't look like they're screaming by any means, but they are pushing up. I'm in a decent amount of altcoins. We have Solana pushing up pretty nicely. Got into a little trade here. It's pushed up decently. Let's see, anything else? Uniswap, popular, coin pushing up pretty nicely. VeChain pushing up. So altcoins are pushing up. I would just assume more steam on something like Doge. Although Doge has a lot of resistance still to go through, I would just assume a little more steam than this. We look at volume. Volume is big, so maybe it'll happen. It's not like every market cycle is going to be the exact same thing. So the way I'm kind of thinking of it is, maybe this is going to be a little bit of a slow push up and then it's going to get wild at some point. You just really never know. Right now, the market isn't risk off. You have interest rates that are still relatively high. The Fed hasn't pivoted. Last bull market, the interest rates were low. So this is a little bit different. If you do believe this is the bull market, at least for Bitcoin, it really seems like it. So we'll have to see. I think there's some interesting dynamics playing out on the bigger picture side that might make this a little bit different. We have all that Bitcoin stuff we talked about, the ETF, the halving coming up, but on the more zoomed out scale, the Fed still has interest rates high. They still haven't pivoted. Maybe there is going to be a little mini collapse here that or at least I just heard about some more regional banking challenges. Let's look at the equity space. Is the equity space maybe having some sort of impact? No, S&P 500 still seems to be rallying super hard. So we'll see how this is going to pan out. I just overall would assume we would see a little bit more out of the meme coins. And maybe this is a new dynamic. Maybe I really wouldn't think meme coins wouldn't run super hard, but maybe it's not going to be the same as last cycle. It should be, but right now I'm just very curious to see that Doge is really not doing much and Sheeb is not doing much right now. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and end it there. I know I didn't go into too much trading or anything like that, but hopefully you guys found some of the fundamental side a little bit interesting. And definitely let me know if you like this sort of, talking about the markets. I can definitely talk more about my journey. I can talk more about specific lessons. I like teaching people about how I trade, but also trading is so individual. I can show you what I do, but I don't know anybody who just trades the same way as anybody else. That's something that helped me actually, as I finally figured out that trading is probably, the best way for me to trade is probably going to be what fits me as a person. And the best way for somebody else to trade is probably going to be, how it fits them as a person, how it fits their personality, how it fits their risk tolerance, how it fits their schedule, how it fits their lifestyle. That I think really changes the game. And I used to get so upset about that stuff. I'm like, no, just teach me your way, how you do it. And then I would try it. And then I'm like, nah, I don't like this. Or when a losing trade happens, since it's something that you don't necessarily fully have conviction of and doesn't fully work with you, or you don't fully, feel comfortable with, you're going to immediately start to believe that it doesn't work. There's no 100% accuracy strategy. So I think the faster way, at least it was for me, was when I started to think, what pieces do I like? What pieces do I do not like? And what works for me? So I found something that worked for me, and I know it works for me, and that's been super helpful. I just keep moving down that way because there's so many ways to be successful in this space. You can be a longer term person. You can be a shorter term person. You can trade in the mornings, the evenings, the weekends, especially with crypto, it's 24/7. So that's what makes it so awesome. And you don't need to hold any inventory. That's so crazy that people are all looking for these side hustles. But you need to have inventory sometimes. You need to know quality control. You need to have employees. You need to negotiate prices. You need to find buyers and sellers. You need to go out of your house. Trading, you need none of those. You need an internet connection. There's always buyers and sellers. Whatever the price is, you can sell it at that price immediately. You don't need to worry about quality control. You don't need any employees. It is such an awesome skill to have. So that's why I'm so passionate about it. I'll go ahead and stop there, but I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.